Good morning. What a pleasure to be here in London. I've travelled down from the northeast to be with you today, so I'm going to try and tame my accent so we don't need an interpreter in this international website presentation. So the real secret to making your website work much harder for you in international markets, and today I'm going to be sharing hints and tips with you on how to do that, is really to look at three core principles that I want to share with you before we get into the nuts and bolts. And the first principle is really that in spite of the web, which we've been struggling with for the last 20 years, the way that we do business across the globe hasn't changed at all. And what we're looking at, in essence, online in particular, is people who are doing business with people that they trust. And it is all about trust in terms of developing your website. And let's have a look at this aspect of trust just a little bit closer. We started delving a lot into the psychology of websites and what actually makes your customers trust them. And we have this great graph by a company called Matrix 42. And on the left-hand side, we've got the extent to which the customer believes you to be competent and capable. You're all go-to experts in the field of fashion and in terms of what you do. And actually, we want you to demonstrate that expertise through your websites, to showcase your expertise and your experience. And if you do that, then your customers will be moving from distrust to respect. On the bottom matrix, more importantly in my book, if I am a customer overseas in a different country where they speak different languages and it's a different culture completely, then if I am going to get in touch with you to buy from you, the first question I really have is, how well are you going to look after me? Can I trust you? How is your customer care? Is it excellent? Is that going to be a great experience? And if it is, then I'm going to move into that affection box, and with respect and affection, you're going to have trust. And there's a great chap in the States called Zig Ziglar who said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you're going to care about them. And what makes you actually trust a website? It's a very, very deep question, isn't it? What makes you trust that? Because without the trust, your overseas customers aren't going to be getting in touch with you. The second principle is think global, act local. And we want you to have the feel and flair of an international business that can trade without problems cross-border. However, we want you to be acting as locally as you possibly can, because we all like buying from the person next door. We all like buying from somebody who understands us, understands our language, and actually understands our buying behaviors and our preference when it comes to e-commerce. So we have to get that right. We have to build customers' confidence in us to do business. And if we are acting as local as we possibly can, which means adopting their language, which means including international content, images and video, which means potentially operating on a local domain name, a .de or a .es or a .br.com or a .cn or wherever it is that you are targeting your efforts, then you will be more accepted, you will be more like the competitors in your market. It will definitely give you a competitive edge. And because your customers are voting with their feet, then the trust engines, the search engines will recognize that, and they will reward you through building a trusted relationship with the search engines by putting you on page one. And that's essentially where you all need to be. The third principle is taking a very fresh and impartial look at your communications. And trust me, that is a very difficult thing to do, because you're the photographer behind the camera, You know everything about your business, about your products and your services, and your communications will reflect that. Your customer is the little guy on the other side of the camera who's actually looking from the outside in. Now, here's a question for you. Who knows, according to Yahoo research, what the average attention span is when you load up a brand new website on your computer? How long are we going to give you? 10 seconds. You're very generous. Very generous. 3 seconds. 1.7 seconds, okay? It goes by in a flash. And in that 1.7 seconds, we've got 2 questions. What's the first question? Who has an idea? What is the first thing you want to know when you go to a website? Yep. What have you got? Yeah, relevance. Have you got what I'm looking for? Yeah, and why should I be bothered? Product and service. 97.3% of businesses and customers looking at your website want to know what the offer is. And in 1.7 seconds, you have to master the art of being explicit. In 1.7 seconds, you can read 10, maybe 15 words, but no more than that. So at that very top level, you really have to impart a lot of information, but actually the whole design and look and feel of your website's important, because only 15% of communication has anything to do with words at all. So what do you think the second question is? If the first one's relevance and product, what's the second question you have when you're looking at a website? What do you think? Not sure? Yeah? How about trust? Do I trust this company? Am I going to start sharing information with them? Because that's what I need to do if I'm going to buy. And how do we look at trust? Well, does it look great? Is it good design? Is it attractive? Yeah? Is everything where I expect to find it? Does the navigation work really well? Are there pictures of real people on there? Because if they're not, then it's going to be harder for me to get to grips with this. Do the pictures load quickly or slowly? Because if they're really slow, then I'm probably going to disappear. So all of these aspects go to building trust, to building that impression. And we need to get that absolutely right. So let's take a look at the international web opportunity, because I deliver something called the Export Communications Review Service for UK Trade and Investment in the north of England. And I've done about 200 of those communications reviews where we go in and help businesses like yourselves to get to grips with your websites and your online communications. And every single one of those businesses usually says to me, do you know what, we get by just fine in English, because everybody in the world speaks some English, surely. Yeah? You're smiling. What percentage of people do you think actually do speak any English whatsoever in the world? Any thoughts? Yeah, it's actually 7% as a native language, as a first language, and another 10%. So that means if you're just using English, that 83% of the world's population don't understand a word you're saying. So let's have a look at that in terms of the internet world, in terms of e-commerce, and what does that actually mean for your websites? Well, first of all, 70% of all online inquiries are not in English. They're in a different language. Yeah? This means that people can't understand you, and this also means that the search engines are not going to be rewarding your website because you're not local, and because customers don't understand you, they're not staying on your website, okay? 90% of European internet visitors will visit websites as a preference that are addressing them in their native language. And when was the last time has anybody visited or bought off a foreign language website that's not their native tongue in the last 6 months? So, you know, your customers aren't going to be doing that either. So customers are 4 times more likely to buy from a website that's actually in their own language. That is a 400% increase in traffic and potentially sales. And I think we'll all put our hands up and say, yes, please, I'd love some of that. If we look at this stat, visitors are going to stay twice as long on your website if you address them in their native language. Just think how much more that you could sell to them potentially. We know that web-savvy SMEs, small businesses, brought in twice as much revenue through exports than those that use the internet sparingly. And we also know that cross-border online trade is going to increase 7-fold by 2020. So hopefully there's some very compelling statistics there for your international website strategy. And, you know, the million-dollar question is, are you visible on the international web? If somebody's searching for your products and services in a country, what are they finding? Can they find you? Have you tested this out using Google, for example? And are you actually courting quality relationships with all of the different search engines in different countries? Because Google in China only has 10.6% of the local search market. You will need to court a good relationship with Baidu. If you go to Russia, you're going to have to be working with Yandex, who have about 60% of the search market there. So you need to be doing research into local search engines, and you can do that on great websites like opensiteexplorer.org, or you can do it on sites like searchenginecolossus.com. So lots of tools out there to help you get to grips with that. So I'd like to look now at your options for your international web strategy and how can you approach embracing different languages and cultures as you are developing your website. And what we would ask you to do is get it right in English first. There is little point in developing an international web strategy if you haven't got a solid foundation on which to build. And you'd need to be doing your keyword research in British English and optimizing your website effectively. Then, the second stage would be looking to ask you to give a global impression. And that might simply be introducing some international content. What products and services are you offering internationally? And how does the sales process work? What is different if I am abroad and want to buy from you? And starting to put that content up on the website. And we need to bear in mind all of the different English dialects across the globe, because there are 4,000 words in American English that mean something completely different to UK English. And we have a great business who sell actually mud flaps for motorbikes, and they were selling mud flaps on their website, and when they changed the name to rear huggers, because that's what they call them in the US, their turnover went up £76,000 in 6 months. So you have to know what your customers are searching for and use the right words, and that's what we mean when we're talking about international content. It could just be one page that you're introducing, and that page could actually be doing the sales work for you, getting you prominence on the local search engines and directing traffic back to your UK website as an interim measure. The third stage would then be taking a brave pill and starting to think about different languages and different cultures, and perhaps introducing some language pages or country pages targeting a specific audience. Remember, if we're targeting, then we're engaging on a local basis and we're going to be much more effective with our online marketing. And we need then to do our keyword research in that local language, and we need to make sure that we're embedding those keywords, and we're going to be looking at that shortly in terms of how you do it across all the content on the website. Then, once you have that, and I'd prefer you to be doing those local pages or mini websites for local countries on what we call a local domain, so a .de, a .es, a .fr, for example, that are relatively easy to buy and redirect to those pages, so you're getting much more of a local position. And if you possibly can, and it's worthwhile because there needs to be a business case, then actually hosting that website in country too, because that will also give you competitive edge in terms of search engine optimization. And finally, you can then look to working with distributors, stockists, wholesalers, retailers, etc., doing joint online marketing campaigns, or using online marketplaces or social media that will help you to amplify your messages out to a bigger audience and drive more traffic back to the website where you can convert it into sales. So one of the first things that I want to share with you is that you must look to secure a .com domain name, or what we call a generic top-level domain. .net, .biz, .info, there are lots of them out there, but a country code domain will not work hard for you in international market. Just as when we are searching here on the .co.uk, you will not see a French, a German, a Spanish, an Italian, or a Chinese website. If clients are searching abroad, they will not find a UK domain name in their searches. But we will see a .com, and we will see the generic top-level domains. So that really is your first step. This company, Environmental Academy, they took their website, quite a comprehensive website, and they did 301 permanent redirects from their .co.uk to the .com, and their web traffic went up a whopping 346% in 3 months. In the same time frame, the level of email and telephone enquiries went up 250%, and within the first month, they'd heard from 9 countries they'd never done business with before. But you need to do it carefully. A word of caution: if you've been operating your .co.uk for some significant time, then it will have built up a lot of online SEO juice, what I call no claims bonus on the web. Yep. And if you switch that off and redivert that domain name to your .com, then you will potentially lose that. So you need to reflect on this carefully. It may well be worthwhile you retain the .co.uk for your UK business, and you build a separate international strategy using the .com or a generic top-level domain. So I'd like now to share with you some examples of what I call my DAS examples. These are a different range of websites that we have worked with, who I'm showing you their website before it was internationalized, and I'm going to show you the website or screen grabs of them after they were internationalized. And here we have a lovely company called Cotton Brush, who are heading off to a big exhibition in Texas. This is their old website, which really wasn't performing well for them. And they're doing e-commerce. Since 1858, they've been selling brushes and all sorts of goods and services through their business and online. They also now sell brushes that will clean the inside of oil pipes in some of the industrial countries that you could drive a bus through. So they're doing the technical solutions as well. This is their new website, and I think you'll agree it's really quite a significant difference. Yeah? And this is what we're talking about. First impressions really count. And in 1.7 seconds, you need to be able to read, let's start with the brand, top left, because heat maps of how people look at websites show us that that is the most important area. Unless you're in the Middle East and they're reading from right to left, and you'd need to flip it around 180 degrees. So world-class brushes, that's where your international content starts, that's where your search engine optimization starts. And they've included straplines and headlines that you can read in 1.7 seconds. On the left, you've got their e-commerce solution, Brushware. On the right, you've got the technical solutions. But what about trust? Well, what they have done is they've got a lovely section on the heritage and the history of the business, because The Made in Britain brand will take you a very long way. We have huge respect, and there's a lot of demand for the Made in Britain goods and services. They also talk about the family business and the heritage of the family, which is also one of their key unique selling points, which will take them a long way. But what they have done is highlighted all of the international team who are going to be looking after customers from overseas markets, and they have included a lovely piece about the individual members with a very accessible, friendly photograph done by professional photographers, with a short piece about the business, hopefully your international skill sets, maybe your language skills, a little bit of personal information, direct telephone and email contact details if you wish to include those, but importantly at the bottom, a link to the LinkedIn profile, so extending out the reach where you can connect and conversate with people in much more of a personal manner. And I can't talk about LinkedIn today, but for your research activities and your business development, it is an amazing tool with 301 people connected on it now, 301 million across the globe with 23 languages at your disposal. And it gives you significant SEO juice. So translating your LinkedIn profiles and your company pages are a very easy and free way, apart from the translation, of actually gaining visibility on all search engines across the globe. So make sure LinkedIn's working very hard for you. This company had quite a lot of challenges, but one in particular was their poor content and their poor translation. They had a young student do the translation for them, and they had 4 languages up there. He wasn't a native speaker. All of the translation work was very well meant, but quite grim. So we got it right in English first. Remember, step 1 of our process, stripped off all of the language content, and this is their new website. And all they have done essentially, apart from the rebrand, is to introduce one single page. That's it, in their first steps for their international development, one page on global locations. When we look at that global page, you'll see a world map, and this is on every page on the website in the bottom third. It instantly tells people that you're trading internationally, that you're open for business across the entire world. It's encouraging people to get in touch. They're highlighting all of their agents, distributors, and wholesalers across the globe. At the top, in the right-hand corner, yes, they've got a contact us piece there, but they've also got the international dialing code, because we want you to make it easy to contact us, easy to do business with you. And in the top right-hand corner, which is another hot spot where people's eyes go when they're looking at websites, you have a very strong call to action. Emergency delivery. They can ship within 24 hours if you get the order through, I think it's by 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And given we're looking at quite chunky pipes and such like, then that is really a key aspect that they need to be looking at. That color, orange, is continued throughout the entire website as a call to action signal, and anywhere orange appears, I know I can click on it to get something else. So that consistency is really quite important. Their products and services, just as you could lay out your fashion wear, etc., is very clearly laid out with some text and images which are going to work well for your 2 audiences, people and the search engines. So very clearly set out. And what I do love on their website is this section here, because on the bottom right-hand side, they have 5 ways of their customers getting in touch with them. How many ways would your customers like to get in touch with you? And what are you providing them? Because here, They can click to call, and it is Skype enabled, so I can get straight through and potentially webcam with the people, which does amazing things for building relationships with your overseas customers. I can click and request a call back, so I'm not having to worry about expensive international phone charges, for example. I can make an online inquiry and fill out a form if my written English is good, and I can Skype, and I can also converse with them on LinkedIn. So how many ways would you like to allow your customers to talk to you? Now, this company, and I've particularly picked out Nigel Wright because they have an amazing international website. It is really good. They've done such a lot of things well. But let's have a look at how they've structured it, because here they're on a subdomain structure. So it's not a separate domain name. They've been very clever. The nigelwright.com is their overarching web strategy. The subdomain uk.nigelwright.com is a subdomain just for the UK market. And you'll notice we've got the local UK telephone number, making it easy to contact me, and the British flag in the wing mirror. Same template. This is the German website. So they've just airbrushed out the flag. Nice, easy little tweak that you can make on your website. And they've included a local German telephone number. Now, if you don't have an office internationally, which these people do, then you can buy a Skype telephone number in Germany for £37.50 per annum, and they do sometimes have a special offer on, and they'll give you 50% discount, or another call answering service who might actually be able to take enquiries for you if you do have linguistic challenges in the business, and just send you through the enquiries in English so that you can manage that. How do I handle foreign language enquiries into the business? And start a process of taking care of that. It doesn't need to cost a huge amount of money. This then, I beg your pardon, one thing I did want to say, this subdomain structure also allows you to build the content within the content management system, but host the website for Germany locally in Germany, which can give you an SEO advantage as well. This is their French website, and you'll notice it's the same content apart from the images and the words. The template is exactly the same, and they've changed the telephone number. And for Belgium, they're kindly, pre-lunch, cruelly, offering us canals filled with chocolate, and also a language selector, because in Belgium, they're offering Flemish and French. So, finally, this lady, and forgive me for the screen grab, but this is a very, very old capture of her old website, sells labels for kids from the conservatory in her back garden. She's turning over 1.2 million now, believe it or not. She's just switched to a Magento e-commerce system because she needs multiple language databases, as she is now franchising this business out across the globe. She's a high growth business and a very exciting lady to deal with. This is the new website. I think you'll agree again, it's amazing, isn't it? It's just chalk and cheese. She has had a lot of trials and tribulations with this system. However, this website is working beautifully well, and you'll see with English, she has 5 languages on offer, and it's a great website to have a look at, both in terms of the key things that your customers are going to be concerned about, which is what will delivery cost me and what happens if I want to return it. So she has those right up front in terms of prominence. If we look at the German website, then exactly the same proposition. She's just swapped it out for the German language and done a very, very good job of it. In the top right-hand corner, you'll also see a little sign that says Trusted Shops, which is the mark of quality for buying online in Europe, that will give people comfort that you are a trusted partner and will look after the financial aspects very well. And that has made a huge difference to Anne-Marie in terms of how she is developing things. Now, On our whirlwind tour of international optimization this morning, just a few words about SEO. So having at least in your mind in 15 minutes thought about building your world-class website, how do we actually make it work hard for us in the search engines? And what I would like to say to you is you need to be researching keywords that your customers will be entering in the search engines to find your products and services. You have to know what they're typing in. And it could be that they're typing in exactly the right word to find that product. It could be that they're paraphrasing. The difference between I need, for example, a chartered accountant or I need someone to help with my cash flow. Yeah? You've got to get those two variances absolutely spot on. So where on the website do you need to include all of those keywords? And I'm going to take you through a very quick checklist of the 10 key places where those keywords need to be included. In your URL, the address for that particular website, in the navigational elements, the breadcrumb and the top-level navigation. You need to include it in your headlines. The keywords there have much more weight. You need to include the keywords in the copy on the page. Absolutely important for Google now because content and content marketing is where we're going. But if you are working with Baidu and Yandex and some of the search engines that aren't quite as advanced, then the metrics and the keywords and where you place them in terms of your SEO is much more important. You need to have your keywords and links from this page off to other pages. And you also need to give your images and any other images or diagrams that you load a proper file name, not just photo 1634B. Call it a name that includes the keyword, and you have to add a tag because the search engines can't see what's in the image. They don't know what it is. So if you want your images to work hard for you, and this is a very visual world that you live in, then you have to include keyword-rich tags on everything that you upload. So let's look at the final 3 places where you need to include your keywords, and these are areas that you input into your content management system, but they're very, very important because these are your title tags and your meta description tags, as we call them, that appear when I'm searching on Google. So if I'm searching here for online audio language magazines, then the top line that's underlined that you see is your meta title. You have 60 to 80 characters to get that right. Yeah? This is your elevator pitch for your website. And underneath it, you have a meta description or a snippet, and you have around 160 to 180 characters for that. If you write more, you'll get chopped off mid-sentence. Now, you might spend 5,000, 50,000, 100,000 or more on your website. As a customer, if I don't like what's written here, I'm not even going to visit your website. So this is critical. This is what is going to allow me to choose to visit your web offer. It is also important for SEO, and it needs to be keyword rich. So you've got 2 demanding audiences, people and search engines, who need to like this. Title tag, meta description tag. This is what it looks like in the source code, and if you hover over any website and right-click and hit View Page Source, you will be able to see the source code in the background and see what it looks like. Now, you'll all understand that you need to be translating the content that we can see on the page, but you also need to be translating, as Mathmos have done here, all of the content in the background. So all of the meta titles, all of the meta descriptions, and all of the tags on images, etc., because they need to work hard in French, for example, or German, or Russian, or Chinese. So translating and optimizing a website for international markets is a big job, but as we've seen at the very beginning, the rewards can be quite extensive. 8, 9, and 10, your keywords. Different tags on different pages, because every page has a purpose and we want every page to work really hard for you, and all of the elements that need to be translated as well. So you need a very, very smart content strategy, an SEO plan for your international websites before you embark on this kind of work.